with ministries in an elected government, with people's representatives in parliament, and ultimately with the popular will, through citizens voting every 5 years. During the formative decades of the Republic, the urge to plan governed the nation. It was the vehicle chosen for rapid economic transformation after nearly 2 centuries of colonial rule, and it also became the language through which the government's aspirations for democratic state-building were expressed. It was a staple of national conversation, and 5-year plans marked the calendar of governance. Politicians seldom tired of invoking the plans, while the media dutifully reported on their progress. They were debated in civil society, and citizens found themselves called to work ever more energetically towards the plan's success. As India emerged from generations of colonial rule in 1947, it faced the following question: would life be any better for 350 million Indians? Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, arch-critic of caste and architect of the Constitution, articulated the fear that was on the minds of many. In his last speech to the Constituent Assembly in late 1949, Ambedkar warned that India was about to enter a life of contradictions. "In politics, we will have equality," he said, "and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. These conflicts demanded attention, fail to do so, and those denied will blow up the structure of political democracy." The Indian government seemingly agreed, at least about the economy. The first 5-year plan noted that the international context made planning not only compatible with democracy, but essential for its very survival. The Indian drama had the world watching. Files from the British Foreign Office and the American State Department reveal that they too shared Ambedkar's fear. The fledgling nation was widely believed to be doomed. The extraordinary challenge posed by India's diversity and poverty appeared insurmountable. The ugly orgy of ethnic violence and sectarian nationalism that erupted during partition seemed a dark omen. Predictions ranged from India splintering into smaller nations to believing it was on the brink of going red under the malevolent influence of Mao's China or Stalin's Soviet Union. There was speculation that it was ripe for authoritarian takeover. Seen from Washington, D.C. and the capitals of Western Europe, the peril was not just to democracy in India, but also to the viability of democracy globally. If breathless columns in the New York Times are to be believed, the fate of democracy in Asia hung in the balance. India was a bastion against communism, and the best hope of democracy in the Far East. Mao's China and Nehru's India were locked in a battle of communist dictatorship versus democratic freedom. Reflecting on his visit to India, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from Chicago that it would be a boon to democracy if one of the great nations of the world could provide for its people without surrendering to a dictatorship of either the right or left. In New Delhi, the influential director of the Ford Foundation in India, Douglas Ensminger, noted in a confidential staff document that the world has anxiously watched India's experiences in planning and executing its plans through democratic means. Writing for The Observer in Britain, Thomas Ballow, an Oxford economist who later entered the House of Lords, described India's experiment in stark terms. His prediction was that it may become crucial for the future of the free world. The Indian government was trying to modernize a vast, materially backward country through consent, to achieve democratically what had hitherto been undertaken, on a comparable scale, only by communist dictatorships. Confronting similar afflictions, the eyes of decolonizing Asia and Africa anxiously tracked India's moves. Planning was meant to resolve what Ambedkar had called a life of contradictions by providing Indians with parity in their political and economic freedoms.